Adrian Wojnarowski, Yahoo Sports NBA writer, joining us on the show. What would you want to know from Mitch Kupchak today, Adrian?
Dan, I think, and here's a question a lot of agents have around the league, some executives. If they don't get LeBron or Carmelo in free agency, which both are long shots to go there, will they spend any money? Will they spend? I think there's a sense that they'll just do some one-year deals and then go back at it next year, not clog up their cap long term. I think that's the question around the league about what their intentions are.
Naming a coach, if would that help or hurt the situation here with free agents? I'm trying to figure out what they're waiting for.
I think they're waiting for a free agent to tell them they prefer somebody and see if it makes a difference. But among the guys they're considering, I think Lionel Hollins is the best coach that's on their short list. But I think it's more of a talent issue right now in L.A. I think free agents are looking there and going, can I win right away? How healthy is Kobe going to be? Those questions. But it is interesting. The Lakers are not at the top of any free agents list, even the elite or even the second-tier guys.
Wow.
Even if they wanted to go after Kyle Lowry, I think he'd prefer to stay in Toronto right now.
Why?
Their infrastructure is it's part of the reason Dwight left. They just don't have an infrastructure of good young players or beyond Kobe, of guys to go in and say, I'm going to be part of a contender right away. The one thing that's hard, I think, for free agents, and they're smart about it, is when you look at a New York or an L.A., these guys know they can't do it alone. The great player knows he can't do it alone. And to go into a place where you're going to be the savior, into a marquee franchise, and if you don't win or have a chance to win right away, you're going to take a lot of heat, and it's not worth the trouble of going to those places. Those places have to have what Houston has now, what I think Phoenix is building here for the next few years. Is we look at the supporting cast we have in place. We're going to plug you right in, and we're on our way to win big. And L.A., New York, they don't have that right now.
Phoenix Suns, with the possibility, surprise, surprise, of do they have the best chance, if you looked at roster, coach, infrastructure, money, to be able to lure LeBron and Carmelo?
Well, I reported that yesterday that they're going to go, they're going to try to go very hard toward them here on July 1. Now, the Miami thing may already be so far down the road. But what's interesting about Phoenix is I think they're putting themselves in position to do what Houston did a few years ago, where the first year or two of free agency, Dwight Howard never wanted to consider Houston. He never wanted to. They sort of forced him to consider it because of the infrastructure they had and the pieces they had in place. They said, if you want to win, you've got to come here. And that's eventually what happened. And I think Phoenix, they know it's a long shot there to get, of course, to get Melo and LeBron. But if those two did want to play together in this free agency in this year, it's the one place they can do it. They don't have to get 10. They can get 3 contracts off on 3 bench contracts off the day free agency starts and have almost $44 million to sign both to a max deal. However, it's not going to. Listen, I don't believe it's going to happen, but it is the one place where they could have a pretty good very good supporting cast around them, if they want to play together.
Talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, Yahoo Sports NBA writer. Power play by Jason Kidd. Was this scripted to get out of New Jersey, or all of a sudden they said, you know what, your loyalty or lack thereof, see you?
Dan, he can't help himself. This is who he is. It never ends well with him. Go through his career. Go look at the places he left as a player. Almost always there was acrimony or some behavior by him that led to someone getting rid of him. He had a great situation there. He was very well regarded by ownership, and he couldn't help himself. He had to go in, pull a power play, demand control of basketball operations. He was told no, and now this Bucks thing has, he's close with the Bucks owner, has prior, has a long-standing relationship with him. And listen, I think he'll come in as the coach. I think he'll end up running the organization sooner than later. And then you know what will happen? That'll blow up, and he'll be on his way somewhere else. This is, to me, it's disgraceful to interview for a job when there's already somebody in the job. Larry Drew was one of his coaches in New Jersey. To go and sit and interview for a guy's job when there's somebody still sitting in the job, it's a real violation of the coach's code, to me, in any profession. And it speaks to a lot to who Kidd is.
All right, so who do the Nets target?
Lionel Hollins was somebody that the Nets had a lot of interest in when the Kidd thing was very sideways, was very wobbly early on in Brooklyn this year, and they stayed with Kidd. They righted the ship there and played well down the stretch, and he kept his job. But I believe Hollins, my sources tell me he's near or at the top of their list here once this Kidd agreement comes with Milwaukee, which I think could come here soon. The Nets will agree. I think the Nets will agree here sooner than later to either a second-round pick or 2 second-round picks and get this thing over with.
The Miami situation, I think, went as scripted. Everybody opting out to, I guess, head back in. So what's the grand plan here?
Dan, I think soon after July 1, soon after midnight or the next day, I think you'll see an agreement in place there. Everything's pointed toward that. Other teams who are trying to recruit LeBron, no one's that hopeful. They feel like the Miami guys, once Wade opted out of the $40+ million and Haslam opted out of his contract, the sense was LeBron was staying with them. Those guys weren't going to give that money up without pretty good confidence that he would. And then it's a matter of how much money among those four that those three. Does
LeBron want max money? Is that true?
I'm told it's going to be max or close to max. He may give up a little. He may give up a little bit.
But you can't do that if you want to build. I don't know.
Sure, you can, because you've got to get Wade and Bosh to take significantly less. You had Haslam to take less. If they can get another contract in that $9 to $10 million range, there's some guys they can go after in that range. Kyle Lowry, that would be a little lower than what he can get in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Luol Deng, Trevor Ariza, some guys who can help them with perimeter defense at the wing position, which they're short on now. But for me, he's the best player in the league. He's the best player. He should be the highest paid player.
Yeah, but
among the highest paid.
But Jordan wasn't always the highest paid player on his own team, Adrian.
I mean, Michael had years of making over $30 million before the old cap, but that was a long time ago. He should be. Listen, these guys are going to devalue themselves as the star player in the NBA. I know nobody wants to hear it, and they say whatever they're making is enough. I get that, but the star player in the NBA is the most underpaid star in pro sports. They drive more that They fill arenas everywhere they go. They drive immense TV ratings. They make the difference between winning and losing, unlike anyone in sports except, I think, a quarterback in football. And the owners have to love that these guys keep all taking less instead of getting what the value should be for a star player. If we were on an open market to owners in this league, LeBron would be worth $50 or $60 million a year.
You seem down. Isn't this a fun time? Are you losing energy here, Adrian? This is your wheelhouse, isn't it?
No, I'm trying to gather some steam here. I'm trying to gather some steam.
It's a marathon.
It is.
Thanks for joining us, Adrian.
Okay, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Adrian Wojnarowski, Yahoo Sports NBA writer.